Okay, good evening, everybody. So happy to be with you tonight on these beautiful chapters, chapter 8 and chapter 9 of the second canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Questions by King Pariksit and the Answers citing the Lord's Version. So these are wonderful chapters, and I think we'll find them very interesting to read together. And then there's a few comments and a few verses that are select that we can go over at the end. But anybody stop anytime you want. If you have any questions, illuminations, or any comments or anything you want to make, please avail yourself of that. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Paristaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaurivani Pacharine Nirishesha Shunyavadi Paschacharishtarane Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu-Nityananda Shridvati Dadhar Swasti Gauri Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, so Srimad Bhagavatam. I'll start out reading, and I think there's about 60 verses, 70 verses here. So I'll cover a little ground, okay? Chapter 8, Questions by King Pariksit, Text 1. King Pariksit inquired from Sukadeva Goswami, how did Narada Muni, whose hearers are as fortunate as those instructed by Lord Brahma, explain the transcendental qualities of the Lord, who is without material qualities, and before whom did he speak? The king said, I wish to know narrations concerning the Lord, who possess wonderful potencies, are certainly auspicious for the living beings in all planets. O greatly fortunate Sukadeva Goswami, please continue narrating Srimad Bhagavatam so that I can place my mind upon the Supreme Soul, Lord Krishna, and being completely freed from material qualities, thus relinquish this body. Persons who hear Srimad Bhagavatam regularly and are always taking the matter very seriously will have the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, manifest in their hearts within a short time. The sound incarnation of Lord Krishna, the Supreme Soul, in essence, Srimad Bhagavatam, enters into the heart of a self-realized devotee, sits on the lotus flower of his loving relationship, and thus cleanses the dust of material associations such as lust, anger, and hankering. Thus, it acts like autumnal rains upon pools of muddy water. That's very beautiful. Pure devotee of the Lord, whose heart has once been cleansed by the process of devotional service, never relinquishes the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, for they fully satisfy him, as a traveler is satisfied at home after a troubled journey. O learned Brahmana, the transcendental spirit soul is different from the material body. Does he acquire the body accidentally or by some cause? Will you kindly explain this, for it is known to you? If the Supreme Personality of Godhead, from whose abdomen the lotus stem sprouted, is possessed of a gigantic body according to his own caliber and measurement, then what is the specific difference between the body of the Lord and those of common living entities? Brahma, who is not born of a material source, but of the lotus flower coming out of the navel abdomen of the Lord, is the creator of all of those who are materially born. Of course, by the grace of the Lord, Brahma was able to see the form of the Lord. Please also explain the personality of Godhead, who lies in every heart as the super soul and as the Lord of all energies, but is untouched by his external energy. O learned Brahmana, it was formerly explained that all the planets of the universe with their respective governors are situated in the different parts of the gigantic body of the Virat Purusha. I have also heard that the different planetary systems are supposed to be in the gigantic body of the Virat Purusha. But what is their actual position? Will you please explain that? Also, please explain the duration of time between creation and annihilation, and that of other subsidiary creations, as well as the nature of time indicated by the sound of past, present, and future. Also, please explain the duration, the measurement of life of the different living beings known as the demigods, the human beings, etc., in different planets of the universe. Are these heavy questions or what? Who can answer these questions? Anybody else other than our dear Sukadeva Goswami, Maharaja Pariksit? Who would know the answers to these questions? Very scientific. Then again, kindly describe how the proportionate accumulation of the reactions resulting from the different modes of material nature act upon the desiring living being, promoting and degrading him among the different species of life, beginning from the demigods down to the most insignificant creatures. O best of the Brahmanas, please also describe how the creation of the globes throughout the universe, the four directions of the heavens, the sky, the planets, the stars, the mountains, the rivers, the seas, and the islands, as well as their different kinds of inhabitants, takes place. It's an easy question, right? Also, please describe the inner and outer space of the universe by specific divisions, as well as the character and activity of the great souls, and also the characteristics of the different classifications of all the caste and orders of social life. You know, just a thought crossing my mind on this particular verse. Please describe the inner and outer space of the universe by specific divisions. Wouldn't it be great if the scientists would just pick up a Srimad Bhagavatam, then they'd have all the answers that they were looking for in their little teeny microscopes or telescopes. You could have it all right here. And the more they find out, the more it does coincide. So does archaeology, so does historical accounts, and so forth and so on, with the information that is listed in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Text 17, please explain all the different ages in the duration of creation and also the duration of such ages. Also tell me about the different activities of the different incarnations of the Lord in different ages. Okay, so at text 18, if somebody would like to avail themselves of a little time to read, that would be great. And well, hey, is that Roshan? That's Roshan. There he is. Haribol. Nice to have you tonight. Very, very good. We missed you the last couple of times. Yeah, we missed you, Roshan.
And we've got Jeremiah here.
Jeremiah, how wonderful. How wonderful. Okay.
Someone new, Eunice and Rama. They want to say Haribo.
Haribo, Eunice and Rama. Nice to see you.
Hare Krishna.
Thank
you. Rakesh and Eunice.
Oh, Rakesh, Haribo.
Haribo.
We worried about you so bad last week. We were like, why? We gotta get to Rakesh, man. You know? Well, I know Raghavati tried her best, and I sent you a text too.
Oh, so thank you. Yeah, I got it. Thank you very much.
Thank you for being with us tonight. These two chapters should be very, very nice. And anybody who wants to start reading from text 18, please avail yourself from that point if you don't mind. Do we have a volunteer, a victim? There's Roshan. He's jumping in. So let Roshan go. He's chomping. He's always chomping at the bit. Who beat you, Rakesh? Sorry.
The amazing thing is unbelievable amount of questions. So Dev Goswami is going to answer.
And they're amazing questions. These are the heaviest questions anybody could ever ask. Anybody.
I'm curious now. Please also explain what may generally be the common religious affiliations of human society, as well as their specific occupational duties and religion, the classifications of the social orders, as well as the administrative royal orders, and the religious principles for one who may be in distress. Kindly explain all about the elementary principles of creation, the number of such elementary principles, their causes, and their development, and also the process of devotional service and the methods of mystic powers. What are the opulences of the great mystic, and what is their ultimate realization? Oh, that's beautiful. How does the perfect mystic become detached from the subtle astral body? What is the basic knowledge of the Vedic scriptures, including the branches of history and the supplementary Purans? Please explain unto me how the living beings are generated, how they are maintained, and how they are annihilated. Tell me also of the advantages and disadvantages of discharging devotional service unto the Lord? What are the Vedic rituals and injunctions of the supplementary Vedic rites? And what are the procedures of religion, economic development, and sense gratification? Please also explain how, merged in the body of the Lord, living beings are created, and how the infidels appear in the world. Also, please explain how the unconditional living entities exist. The independent personality of Godhead enjoys his pastimes by his internal potency, and at the time of annihilation gives them up to the external potency, and he remains a witness to it all. Wow. O great sage, representative of the Lord, kindly satisfy my inquisitiveness in all that I have inquired from you, and all that I may not have inquired from you from the very beginning of my question. Since I am a soul surrendered unto you, please impart full knowledge in this connection. O great sage, you are as good as Brahma, the original living being. Others follow customs only, as followed by the previous philosophical speculators. O learned Brahmana, because of my drinking the nectar of the message of the infallible personality of Godhead, which is flowing down from the ocean of your speeches, I do not feel any sort of exhaustion due to my fasting. Sud Goswami said, thus Sukadeva Goswami, being invited by Maharaja Pariksit to speak on topics of the Lord Sri Krishna with the devotees, was very much pleased. He began to reply to the inquiries of Maharaj Pariksit by saying that the science of the personality of Godhead was spoken first by the Lord himself to Brahma when he was first born. Srimad Bhagavatam is the supplementary Vedic literature, and it teaches in pursuance of the Vedas. He also prepared himself to reply to all that King Pariksit had inquired from him. Maharaj Pariksit was the best in the dynasty of the Pandus, and thus he was able to ask the right questions from the right persons.
Very
So
good.
this
Thank
ends
you.
the chapter.
Thank you. Thank you very
Yeah.
much for that. Those are excellent questions. I'm waiting to hear the answers on every one of those.
I'm very even though I've read them, I've forgotten them.
Oh, I know. Well, they're all throughout Bhagavatam too. They're not just answered in this particular next chapter.
I'm sure.
They're answered previous to this chapter and after this chapter. It's not really chronological.
Yeah.
So, Rakesh, would you like to read a little bit for us, if you don't mind, on chapter 9, answers by citing the Lord's version? Can you do that? We may not have Rakesh readily available. Okay, Jack.
I got you if need be.
Oh, yeah, there you go, Jeremiah. Please read. There you are. Okay.
Hello.
Forgive me,
Go ahead.
my tablet just came up. Can you tell me exactly where we are?
Chapter 9, the first text.
Okay.
And we'll read like 10 verses each, or 15, if you'd like. Whoever wants to grab.
Yeah, go ahead. All you.
You want to do that, Jai Krishna? Jeremiah has relinquished his spot until the next go around.
I'm still scrolling with my tablet. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
Jeremiah, you're the
Come up.
man.
I
Jeremiah,
got you.
got
Put
you.
me in, coach. Put me in, coach. I got it.
You're there.
All right. Text 1, chapter 9. Sri Sukadeva Goswami said, O king, unless one is influenced by the energy of the Supreme Personality Godhead, there is no meaning to the relationship of the pure soul and pure consciousness with the material body. That relationship is just like a dreamer's seeing his own body working. The illusion to living entity appears in so many forms offered by the external energy of the Lord, while enjoying in the modes of material nature. The engaging living entity misconceives, thinking the terms of I and mine. Hold on, I got to get past the pictures. As soon as the living entity becomes situated in his constitutional glory and begins to enjoy the transcendence beyond time and material energy, he at once gives up the two misconceptions of life, I and mine, and thus becomes fully manifested as the pure self. O king, the personality of Godhead, being very much pleased with Lord Brahma because of his non-deceptive penance in Bhakti Yoga, presented his eternal and transcendental form before Brahma, and that is the objective goal for purifying the conditioned soul. I'm having a hard time with these pages, sorry. Lord Brahma, the first spiritual master, supreme in the universe, could not trace out the source of his lotus seat, and while thinking of creating the material world, he could not understand the proper direction for such creative work, nor could he find out the process for such creation. While thus engaged in thinking in the water, Brahmaji heard twice from nearby two syllables joined together. One of the syllables was taken from the 16th and the other from the 21st of the Sparsa alphabets, and both joined to become the wealth of the renounced order of life. While he heard the sound, he tried to find the speaker, searching on all sides, but when he was unable to find anyone besides himself, he thought it wise to sit down on his lotus seat firmly and give his attention to the execution of penance as he was instructed. Lord Brahma underwent penances for 1,000 years by the calculations of the demigods. He heard this transcendental vibration from the sky and he accepted it as divine. Thus he controlled his mind and senses, and the penances he executed were a great lesson for the living entities. Thus he is known as the greatest of all ascetics. The personality of Godhead, being thus very much satisfied with the penance of Lord Brahma, was pleased to manifest his personal abode Vaikuntha, the supreme planet above all others. This transcendental abode of the Lord is adored by all self-realized persons freed from all kinds of miseries and fear of illusionary existence. In that personal abode of the Lord, the material modes of ignorance and passion do not prevail, nor is there any of their influences in goodness. There is no predominance of the influence of time, so what to speak of the illusionary external energy, it cannot enter that region. Without discrimination, both the demigods and the demons worship the Lord as devotees. That was 10. You want me to keep going?
Is Rakesh available at this point?
I'm available.
Okay, Jai Krishna, would you like to pick up there? Hey, Jeremiah, thank you. That was very, very good. We may come back to you in a minute.
The inhabitants of the Vaikuntha planets are described as having a glowing sky bluish complexion. Their eyes resemble lotus flowers. Their dress is of yellowish color, and their bodily features very attractive. They are just the age of growing youths. They all have 4 hands. They are all nicely decorated with pearl necklaces and ornamental medallions, and they all appear to be effulgent. Some of them are effulgent like coral and diamonds in complexion, and have garlands on their heads, blooming like lotus flowers. Some wear earrings. Sounds like me. With earrings. The Vaikuntha planets are also surrounded by various airplanes, all glowing and brilliantly situated. These airplanes belong to the great Mahatmas, or devotees of the Lord. The ladies are as beautiful as lightning because of their celestial complexions, and all these combined together, they're just like the sky decorated, both clouds and lightning. The goddess of fortune in her transcendental form is engaged in the loving service of the Lord's lotus feet. And being moved by the black bees, followers of spring, she is not only engaged in a variegated pleasure, service to the Lord, along with the constant companions, but is also engaged in singing the glories of the Lord's activities. Lord Brahma saw in the Vaikuntha planets the personality Godhead, who is the Lord of the entire devotee community, the Lord of the goddess of fortune, the Lord of all sacrifices, and the Lord of the universe, and who is served by the foremost servitors like Nanda, Sunanda, Parabala, and Hana, his immediate associates. The personality of Godhead, seen leaning favorably towards his loving servitors, his very sight intoxicating and attractive, appeared to be very much satisfied. He had a smiling face decorated with enchanting reddish hue. He was dressed in yellow robes and wore earrings and a helmet on his head. He had 4 hands, and his chest was marked with the lines of the goddess of fortune. The Lord was seated on his throne and was surrounded by different energies like the 4, the 16, the 5, and the 6 natural opulences, along with other insignificant energies of temporary character. But he was factual Supreme Lord, enjoying his own abode. Lord Brahma, thus seeing the personality of Godhead in its fullness, was overwhelmed with joy within his heart, and thus in full transcendental love and ecstasy, his eyes filled with tears of love. He thus bowed down before the Lord. This is the way, the highest perfection of the living being, Paramahansa. Paramahansa. Shall I continue?
Yeah, we'll take 8, 10, 12 verses each.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. I'll do one more. After seeing Brahma present before him, the Lord accepted him, excuse me, as worthy to create living beings. To be controlled as he desired, and thus being much satisfied with him, the Lord shook hands with Brahma and, slightly smiling, addressed him thus.
Beautiful.
The
Thank
beautiful personality woman. Okay.
you. That's very, very good. Well, we'll let somebody speak for the beautiful personality of Godhead. I think Rakesh might be queued up by now.
Yes, I'm ready.
Yeah,
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you fine.
Okay.
Jack Krishna, thank you so much. That was wonderful.
The beautiful personality of Godhead addressed Lord Brahma. O Brahma, impregnated with the Vedas, I am very much pleased with your long accumulated penance with a desire for creation. Hardly am I pleased with the pseudo-mystics. I wish you good luck. O Brahma, you may ask from me, the giver of all benediction, all that you may desire. You may know that the ultimate benediction, as the result of all penances, is to see me by realization. The highest perfectional ingenuity is the personal perception of my abodes, and this has been possible because of your submissive attitude in the performance of severe penance according to my order. O sinless Brahma, you may know from me that it was I who first ordered you to undergo penance when you were perplexed in your duty. Such penance is my heart and soul, and therefore penance and I are non-different. I create this cosmos by such penance. I maintain it by the same energy, and I withdraw it all by the same energy. Therefore, the potential power is penance only. Lord Brahma said, O personality of Godhead, you are situated in every living entity's heart as the supreme director, and therefore you are aware of all endeavors by your superior intelligence without any hindrance whatsoever. In spite of that, my Lord, I am praying to you to kindly fulfill my desire. May I please be informed how, in spite of your transcendental form, you assume the mundane form, although you have no such form at all. And please inform me how you, by your own self, manifest different energies for annihilation, generation, acceptance, and maintenance by combination and permutation. O Master of all energies, please tell me philosophically all about them. You play like a spider that covers itself by its own energy, and your determination is infallible. Please tell me so that I may be taught in the matter by the instruction of the personality of Godhead, and may thus act instrumentally to generate living entities, without being conditioned by such activities. And text 30. O my Lord, the unborn, you have shaken hands with me just as a friend does with a friend, as if equal in position. I shall be engaged in the creation of different types of living entities, and I shall be occupied in your service. I shall have no perturbation, but I pray that all this may not give rise to pride, as if I were the supreme.
Very nice. Thank you, Rakesh. All right. Thank you very, very much. I think Rangavanti is sitting over there. I don't know, man. I'm not sure she's going to be able to hold back. Rangavanti, you go ahead and take it from 31. I know she wants it real bad. Thank you, Rakesh. That was beautiful.
Thank you. The personality of Godhead said, knowledge about me as described in the scriptures is very confidential, and it has to be realized in conjunction with devotional service. The necessary paraphernalia for that process is being explained by me. You may take it up carefully. All of me, namely my actual eternal form and my transcendental existence, color, qualities, and activities, let all be awakened within you by factual realization out of my causeless mercy. Brahma, it is I, the personality of Godhead, who was existing before the creation, when there was nothing but myself, nor was there the material nature, the cause of this creation. That which you see now is also I, the personality of Godhead. And after annihilation, what remains will also be I, the personality of Godhead. Long purple. O Brahma, whatever appears to be of any value, if it is without relation to me, has no reality. Know it as my illusory energy, that reflection which appears to be in darkness. O Brahma, please know that the universal elements enter into the cosmos, and at the same time, I do not enter into the cosmos. Similarly, I myself also exist within everything created, and at the same time, I am outside of everything. Let's go past my paintings. A person who is searching after the supreme absolute truth, the personality of Godhead, most certainly search for it up to this, in all circumstances, in all space and time, both directly and indirectly. Another long purple. These are obviously very important verses. O Brahma, just follow this conclusion by fixed concentration of mind, and no pride will disturb you, neither in the partial nor in the final devastation. Sukadeva Goswami said to Maharaja Pariksit, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, after being seen in his transcendental form, instructing Brahmaji, the leader of all living entities, disappeared. On the disappearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, who is the object of transcendental enjoyment for the senses of devotees, Brahma, with folded hands, began to recreate the universe full with living entities as it was previously. Thus, once upon a time, the forefather of living entities and the father of religiousness, Lord Brahma, situated himself in acts of regulative principles, desiring self-interest for the welfare of all living entities. Narada, the most dear of the inferior sons of Brahma, always ready to serve his father, strictly follows the instructions of his father by his mannerly behavior, meekness, and sense control. Narada very much pleased his father and desired to know all about the energies of Vishnu, the master of all energies. For Narada was the greatest of all sages and greatest of all devotees, O king. The great sage Narada also inquired in detail from his father Brahma, the great-grandfather of all the universe, after seeing him well satisfied. Should I continue? Will that be okay?
Well, there's only 3 more verses.
Oh, is there?
Yeah, so if you want to finish those out, you're welcome to do it.
No, I'll pass them on. If
Okay.
anyone wants to take
Anybody
them.
want the last 3 here? Or, yeah, about 3 more verses.
I'll take them.
Okay.
Therefore, the supplementary Vedic literature, Srimad Bhagavatam, which was described by the personality Godhead, and which contains 10 characteristics, was told with satisfaction by the father, Brahma, to his son Narada. In succession, O king, excuse me, the great sage Narada instructed Srimad Bhagavatam unto the unlimitedly powerful Vyasadeva, who meditated in devotional service upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the absolute truth, on the bank of the river Saraswati. O king, your questions as to how the universe became manifested from the gigantic form, the personality of Godhead, as well as other questions, I shall answer in detail by explanation of the 4 verses already mentioned.
Wow. Wow. I mean, can we spend a few years on these two chapters? Is that okay with you guys? I mean, how do you unpack all of this? I mean, how do you, we're associating with the greatest souls of all history, of all time, eternal time in the universe. And these are their questions. And these are the answers that we're receiving. How can we be so blessed? How can we be so blessed to hear these esoteric questions and their answers from the mouth of the creator of the universe himself, Lord Brahma, and from his son, Narada Muni, handed then to Vyasadeva, and then handed down to Sutta, right? Or Sukadeva, and so forth, and King Pariksit, and then Sutta in the forest of Naimisharanya. So the Sampradaya is going on, isn't it? The Sampradaya is wonderful, and we're all part of that Sampradaya. And so we're connected by this Sampradaya, just like pearls are strung on a thread, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, right? So the thread is the same, and the pearls may be a little different size, a little different placement. But that doesn't really matter because the truth itself is the strand on which we are strung. And in that environment, we can have peace, we can have happiness, we can have tranquility, we can have bliss, we can have security. We can have all of the things that we can't get in the material world, no matter how hard we try, no matter how much money we spend, no matter how we try to protect it from invaders and thieves and so forth, and rust and animals and corruptness and the weather. And my goodness, look at all the threefold miseries: the weather, other living entities, even activities ourselves, creating our own miseries. We find that also in our lives. But somehow or another, we are here, and by the great causeless mercy of Srila Prabhupada, we are gathered together to hear this wonderful explanation. And the Lord himself, it says, explained Srimad Bhagavatam to Lord Brahma in 4 verses. But if you read that purport, which Rangavati was saying was some of these purports are really long. You could spend a few days on these purports. So in that particular purport, Prabhupada explained that those 4 verses, we shouldn't think. Prabhupada says this. He said, we shouldn't think that we just study 4 verses and then we're good. We should study 4 billion verses. Or in this case, hundreds of thousands of verses that we still have to study, because those verses are elaborated over and over and over and over again, just like Brahma told Narada. He said, now you expand on this. Now you take this information and expand it unlimitedly, right? Just like Brahma folded his hands after seeing God. We're going to go back to that. We're going to take a look at that again. But after seeing God, he simply folded his hand and began to create all the living entities and everything that we see here through the power of the Lord's causeless mercy upon him. And he benedicted Brahma. And we'll go back over some of those verses as we go through this. But first of all, are there any questions or illuminations that anybody else felt they wanted to bring out in this conversation?
Yeah, I got one.
Okay.
Oh, go ahead. I think someone else has started.
It's
Go
okay.
ahead.
It's okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, we got time.
Okay. To me, 2 things that I kind of notated that I thought were really, really cool was text 24 in chapter 8, and it ties directly into text 3 of the next one. So essentially, O great sage, representative of the Lord, kindly satisfy my inquisitiveness in all that I've inquired from you, and all that I may not have inquired from you from the very beginning of my questioning, since I'm a soul surrendered unto you. Please impart full knowledge. To me, I really like that, because it's like, I don't know squat. I need the information, please. And so, I mean, that's how, like, please fill me up. And then on 3, it just says, as soon as the living entity becomes situated in the constitutional glory and begins to enjoy the transcendence beyond time, you get rid of all the selfishness, I and mine, and you perform service and, think of others. And, it's just kind of cool to me. Those really tie in well together, just because I want the knowledge so that I can help people and not focus on myself, but my soul as well as other souls, and see them as a super soul and not a body. So
that was really good. Thanks for pointing that out. One thing that I really am taking away from what you're saying is that he didn't even know the questions to ask. And look at the questions that he did ask.
absolutely.
How would
Yeah,
he
and
know
that's
to ask
and
those questions?
I think the cool thing about that is these people that are speaking know way more than I do, and they didn't have a clue. So that's comforting to know that we all can learn, no matter what stage of your walk or enlightenment, whatever you want to call it, is at. Like, you still need more knowledge to be able to get to where you need to be. So pretty cool.
Yeah, there's nothing static about this study about God. It is dynamic in all senses of the word. Static, it's not like the material world. In the material world, these words like stale or hackneyed or pale or dry, when we think about the material world, doesn't matter how much pleasure you think you're going to have, at some point it all turns into that. It just turns into stale, pale, hackneyed activities, right? That are static in nature. But if we talk about the personality of Godhead and we relish the stories of the personality of Godhead, they're dynamic. Even Maharaja Pariksit says that he doesn't get tired. He's not hungry. He doesn't feel hunger. He doesn't feel exhaustion, because he's feeding from the honey of the lotus feet of the Lord, which is issued from the mouth of these great pure devotees, right? So because he's tasting that honey, he's survived, he's sustained. He's not just sustained, he's completely enlivened. Completely enlivened. So what happens to us when we get a little trace of this taste for the Lord's lotus feet, then nothing else will do. That higher taste will call us back again and again and again and again and again, right? Just like we had a little cat come up and there was some there was some food here, and the cat came over and ate it. Now he's coming back every time because he's thinking now there's some food here. So when we find nourishment in this Srimad Bhagavatam, nourishment for the soul and the heart and the mind, the emotions, then we will regularly be wanting to engage in these classes and these dialogues between the devotees, touting the great glories of the Supreme Personality of God. A very good point. Appreciate that very much, Jeremiah. Roshan, did you have a point?
Yes. I think the same verse, text 24, chapter 8, the beauty is how Maharaj Pariksit, the great emperor of the world, he says, I am a soul surrendered unto you. The humbleness is there, just as the same way, the same words are used in Bhagavad Gita. I think it was in chapter 2, text 7. The same Arjuna said, I am a soul now surrendered unto you. Oh, please, Lord, please help me, please guide me, please instruct me. So that humbleness is very important if one really is interested in learning something from a higher up or a guru. The second comment is that anybody who holds this Srimad Bhagavatam is blessed. There's nothing else, just holding this book. You are a blessed soul. Out of millions and billions of people, they never had a chance even to know this. There is nothing greater than this.
Yeah, well, that's why all of the Vaishnavas, like Srila Prabhupada sitting in Vrindavan, right? And he's completely in a state of ecstasy, as he's happy as he can be, but yet in his heart, he's feeling pain. He's feeling that he's feeling compassion and suffering for the fallen conditioned souls. He's also feeling the urgency to perform according to his spiritual master's instructions, which were given to him just days, actually. Well, it was given to him in the very beginning when Prabhupada first saw his spiritual master. Before he could even sit down, the spiritual master says, you nice educated boys should preach to the Western world, right? Yes. So then also he wrote a nice letter to his spiritual master, really in the same month that his spiritual master passed. I think it was December in 36. And so in that letter, he asked the spiritual master, he said, I've been a householder, I'm a this and I'm a that. How can I engage in service, if I can't live in the temple and this and that? He said, simply preach this information in English in the Western world. And Prabhupada, look what he's been able to do by carrying out those instructions. Even despite of all the difficulties that he ran into along the way, he didn't give up. He never gave in, he never gave out, and he remained enthusiastic, no matter how difficult. And he used these stories of the Srimad Bhagavatam to explain why he remained enthusiastic. He used the Bhagavatam to enlighten us of these great souls who existed in previous time, who met God in person, who were instructed by God in person in his various incarnations, which are listed here, which are completely studied and discovered here in the Srimad Bhagavatam. I mean, what else should we be doing with our lives? So if you go back, and I appreciate that so much, Roshan, you're always very, very wonderful commentary. Appreciate it. Is there any other commentary? Or interrupt if you'd like at any time with anything that you have to say. But if we go back to chapter 8 and we look, those first few verses are strong, very, very strong verses, right? So he says in text 2 of chapter 8, the king said, I wish to know narrations concerning the Lord possessing wonderful potencies are certainly auspicious for living beings in all planets, right? So when the Lord says charity, penance, like that, austerity should never be given up. They're even, in the Bhagavad Gita, it describes that, they're even purifying for the liberated souls. So here, Krishna describes that this penance, or, this austerity, this ta-pa, which were from the Sparsa language, those two words came together. Brahma heard those words in the darkness. He couldn't find out where he was. He was on the lotus flower. He crawled all around the thing. He went down to the ocean. He didn't know what to do. Garbled out traces. He didn't know what to do. He had no idea. And in that state, he sat down in a meditative state. He heard those two syllables, tapa, tapasya. So tapasya is the potency of God. He says that. He said that tapasya is how the universe is created, maintained, and how it is annihilated. It is the potency of the universe. So when we see people elevating themselves gradually to higher planetary systems or becoming devotees, they may be given unlimited powers. There's 8 mystic siddhas that are described in these chapters, right? The devotees don't seek those mystic siddhas. Prabhupada says in one of the purports, he said it's not necessary for us to seek those individually. Everything is given to the devotee. So it doesn't really matter, about our potency. It matters about Krishna's potency. If we submit ourselves to Krishna, he will protect you. In Bhagavad Gita, he says, just surrender to me, abandon all varieties of religion. Do not fear. I will protect you. Who else could say that to you and be that convincing? No one. So it's good for everybody in all planets all the time. Srimad Bhagavatam spoken to Brahma and then handed to Narada, then handed to Vyas, then going down to Sukadeva, then going down to Sutta, coming through our chain of disciplic session, the Brahma Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, all the way down to Srila Prabhupada, and all the way down to such insignificant, worthless beings like me. How is this possible? How is this possible that I can be led in on such an intimate conversation, such a powerful conversation? Krishna says, Rajaguya Rajavidyam Pavitram Idamutama. This is the king of all knowledge, the king of all seeking after knowledge. It's the end of all seeking after knowledge. This is it. So, and that would be that persons who hear the Srimad Bhagavatam regularly and are always taking the matter very seriously will have the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna manifested in their hearts within a short period of time. Guys, is that good news?
Great news.
It's the best news. How much better news can it get? And you may want to individually mute again, guys, if you don't mind. But it is the very best news that we have. There's no question about it that we can be given the passcode back home, back to Godhead, back to the spiritual sky, back where there is no death, there is no suffering like this, right? Everything that you want, there are desire trees everywhere, there's touchstones everywhere. Anything you want, anything you desire is manifest so you can serve the Lord. Here, you have to work hard like hog, dog, camel, and ass, and you still end up losing it all. Who would take this over that? So the sound incarnation of Lord Krishna, the Supreme Soul, is Srimad Bhagavatam. It is this narration, and it does enter into the heart of a self-realized devotee. And it gets rid of the things that are driving us crazy. Well, what's driving us crazy? In this world, we are driven completely mad by lust. We're driven mad. Listen, it was snowing here. It was frozen here. There are people getting up at 3:30 in the morning, digging out of the snow to go to work to earn a little bread, a little money, a little crust of bread and such, as they say. What tapasya is that? That's tapasya in the mode of passion, right? Because it seems like nectar in the beginning, but it's like poison in the end. Tapasya in the mode of ignorance is painful from the beginning to the end, and there's no gain of any kind, right? And tapasya in the mode of goodness elevates one to pure goodness. And pure goodness is the state that we exist in the Vaikuntha worlds. So in this situation, it says that just by hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam, hankering will go away. Lust will go away. Anger and the frustration that comes from this unlimited hankering and being defeated over and over and over again, not getting what you want in life. Thinking, oh, if I only had this, if I had that, if I had this, if I had that. That can go on forever. And it has in all species. 8,400,000 species, according to Bhagavatam. We've tried them all. We've had families in every one. Right? We've raised our own families. There's a wonderful story in the Bhagavatam about the little bird. It's in the 11th canto, who sees his family trapped by the hunter. He goes to save them, then he's trapped. What can be done? Right? What can be done? So in this situation, we're parched, thirsty for some actual nectar. We scroll through every channel trying to find something that will stimulate our senses. Nothing will do, right? We study all these so-called philosophies and theories that people have put forward. We follow the scientists and see what their next bit of illusion is. You know, they're finding out a little bit. They can look out into a distance. They see some lights out there. Okay. You see some lights. That's very nice. You hypothesize that there must be some chemicals or some organic mixture there, but you can't find life other than yourself. By blowing yourself across the sky. Now they're going back to the moon again. Okay. Good luck with that. Last time you brought back, I think, 200 pounds of rocks. How'd that go? What did we get out of that? Right? So we could be spending, zero. We could be spending our time and billions of dollars on disseminating this information like Srila Prabhupada did. Over 600 million books have been distributed by his disciples. Over 600 million. We could be doing that, but instead we're building bigger bombs to blow each other up. Right? Or we're blowing ourselves out into outer space thinking that somehow or another we'll be able to enhance our sense gratification on Mars or on the moon. Really? Okay. Well, for me, I shall read Srimad Bhagavatam. And I listen to the stories. I listen to the stories that come in from all of this. It is such hyperbole, and it's filled with, egotistical hubris. These people are trying their best to build the biggest rocket. Now they've got this enormous rocket, and they're all clapping, and they're so happy, and then it blows up. But if they keep trying, ultimately, the rocket won't blow up, and they'll be able to go somewhere. Where will they actually go? What will they actually get as a result of all that hard work and that effort? Very dangerous too, by the way. People are being killed on the launch pad. They don't even get off the launch pad. Sometimes they get in the air a little bit and then they're killed. For what? For what? A better technological way to enjoy sense gratification? How about just save the billions, reduce the size of government, because everybody can become a nice devotee and everybody will live like civilized human beings. We won't have to be policed so strongly if we teach Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, because people will develop godly characteristics. And then you can just take all of those billions of dollars you would have used to blow yourself off to some asteroid somewhere or whatever. And you can use that for the welfare of all the people who are suffering in the material world. And ultimately, you can distribute prasadam to them and these wonderful books. So, and then their hearts can also become cleansed by the process of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, and they can actually feel that satisfaction that it says is very much like a traveler who's satisfied by getting back home after a troubled journey. Think about that. And we all have had that experience, right? We've had these troubled journeys, right? So now that we're at home and we can rest finally, it's a wonderful place to be. So when we do go back home, back to Godhead, all of this chaotic, passionate, just over endeavor or something, some mental concoction will finally go away and we can get peace. Okay? So that I took out of these first few verses that we're seeing right here. And then, of course, at that point, Brahma is asked all these different questions. So the interesting thing about this particular chapter, on chapter 8, is that he wants to know, okay, in text 3, is this text? Let me look back at text 3. This is the one that I wanted to. Yeah. So this is the whole purpose of human life. The whole purpose of human life is in text 3. And what does text 3 say? O greatly fortunate Sukadeva Goswami, please continue narrating Srimad Bhagavatam so that I can place my mind upon the Supreme Soul, Lord Krishna, and being completely freed from material qualities, thus relinquish this body. He was going to die. And by the way, if you don't mind, I'd like to mention to everybody that my dear godbrother, Hansagati Prabhu, who I've known now 50 years, finally, he left his body in Mayapur on the Ekadasi day. Very auspicious. But Hansagati was a wonderful, wonderful devotee. I got to tell you this little story about Hansagati, okay? So we were at Murari Farm. This is probably 1970 something, who knows? And we're standing there and there's some cows there. And Hansagati had just gotten back from India. And, he saw some of the Goshala, saw the cows, saw how people were dealing with the cows and so forth there. And so he was pretty excited about it. This cow was passing stool. And so he just stuck his hand out while he was talking to me nonchalantly, and the stool began to splatter on his hand. And I thought, that's odd. What would you do that for? Then what really blew me away was he took his hand and he rubbed the stool all on his mouth. And I thought, what in the world are you doing? And he was nonchalant about it. He said he had a fever blister, and he was putting the cow dung on it to cure the fever blister. And he said that tomorrow it will fall off and everything will be just pink and nice again. And surely that was the case. The next day, he walked around with this big pack of cow dung on his face, and it cured him overnight. Literally. Now, that was proof positive of the antiseptic quality of the cow dung. And of course, the urine also has those antiseptic qualities. He obviously believed that with all of his heart and soul to be able to do something like that in front of me. But that's what Hans Gandhi did do at Murari Farm one day. And I just thought, wow, that's a practical realization of something we've heard in the Vedas. And it worked for him. Anyway, I thought I'd just tell that one little funny story about Hans Gandhi. And he was always like that. He was always just unabashed. He would just say anything. And he had just a marvelous personality. So everybody, if you don't mind, say a nice prayer. Rakesh, you might remember Hans Gandhi. He was in Atlanta. You remember him, Rakesh? Yeah. Great soul, great devotee. Loved him with all my heart. Great devotee.
I saw him again about 2017 when I was living in California. So I saw him several times when I used to visit the LA temple. He lived close to that temple.
Yeah, he actually worked out there. And he used to call me sometimes. He would be in a cab. He was driving a cab out there, and he was preaching to everybody that ever got in the cab. He had Krishna there on the dashboard. He had a little bobblehead Prabhupada on there. Prabhupada's on the dashboard. Could you imagine? And he's got the deities on the dashboard, and he's playing kirtan and stuff in his cab. And he calls me and he says, "Yeah, I just met a really nice person, Gayatri. You should preach to this guy." He's talking to me like this on the phone from California. He also did that. He moved to a farm in, I believe it was Oregon or maybe Northern California or wherever, but he used to call me regularly. And so please, if you don't mind, send him off with all your great blessings and everything. I would really appreciate that. And hopefully we'll be able to serve with him again in short order. So, okay, Jai Hans Gandhi Prabhu, Ki Jai, Hari Bol. So, but the idea here is that Pariksit is setting the stage for the entire Srimad Bhagavatam really to be spoken in the modern age, especially later with Sutta at the forest of Naimisharanya. And he's posing the number one most important question that we could ever have. What should a man do if he had 7 days left to live? That's his question. What should you do with your time? So in one of the purports I was reading today, Prabhupada said, yes, we should do this with all of our time from childbirth to the time we leave. We should engage ourselves completely in hearing and chanting the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam and chanting the holy name of the Lord. That way we're never touched by karma. We're never touched. We're permanently liberated in that state. So he wants to know how he can leave the body and be completely freed from anything here as he relinquishes his body. So what does Krishna say in Bhagavad Gita about that? Antakale chamameva smaran mukva kalevaram ya prayati samadbhavam yati naschatra samsiyaha. And whoever at the time of death quits his body, remembering me alone, attains to my nature of this. There is no doubt. There is no doubt. So Prabhupada had a method to the madness when he got us to chant 16 rounds a day, when he got us to offer everything that goes in our mouth, even the water we drink, to Krishna first, right? To hear these narrations of Srimad Bhagavatam in the association of the devotees, to see the deities at the temple and have these great holy days that we can all observe, including Ekadasis, which will lead us more and more to Krishna consciousness. So that's the idea behind that. So he's asking, what should he do at the time of death? and he wants to hear the Bhagavatam so he can place his mind on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So in text 6, he says, a pure devotee of the Lord whose heart has once been cleansed by the process of devotional service never relinquishes the lotus feet of the Lord, for they fully satisfy him, just as a traveler is satisfied by returning home from a troubled journey. So in this situation, in the purport, he says, perfectly cleansed persons never quit the devotional service of the Lord. In discharging such devotional services ordered by Brahmaji to Narada in the preaching of Srimad Bhagavatams, sometimes a representative of the Lord engaged in preaching works meets various so-called difficulties. So this was exhibited by Lord Nityananda when he delivered the two fallen souls, Jagai and Madai, and similarly, it was exhibited by Lord Jesus Christ when he was crucified by the non-believers and the envious. But such difficulties are very gladly suffered by the devotees in preaching, because in such activities, although apparently very severe, the devotees of the Lord feel transcendental pleasure. Why? Because the Lord is satisfied. That's the difference. That's the difference. That's the difference between being stuck here forever in a material body rotting, or going back home in your Satchidananda Vigraha, Swarup City. That's the difference. It's an easy thing if you really think about it, because your mind is working all day at something. So the intelligence has to control the mind. Then the mind withdraws the senses from their objects, just like a tortoise draws his limbs within the shell, and he allows it to pass. Right? Matra sparsas dukanteya satosna sukadukada. We know that these things are coming, these difficulties are coming, the demons are coming. Listen, when you take up Krishna consciousness, you declare war on Maya. You're in a state of war. But you're in the eye of the hurricane, right? It's peaceful where you are. Everything else is going on, but it's not disturbing you, because you understand that these things are just the three modes of nature enacting with the personalities and their karma and the objects of their senses, and they've created an existence out of that. Just like the demigods are experiencing one existence. We're not experiencing that existence. We're experiencing the existence in the mode of passion, in the material, earthly world, right? And then in the hellish planets, they're experiencing a different existence. And we can go to any of those. As a matter of fact, we can go to the spiritual sky. We can go anywhere we desire. Krishna wants you to have what you want. Prabhupada said that if you desire to forget Krishna, he will make your ability to forget Krishna complete. And if you want to remember Krishna, he will give you opportunities to do that. Just so tonight you've taken a great opportunity to hear from the Srimad Bhagavatam. So now let's go to the next chapter. And I just have a few little points that I wanted to go over. We won't go a whole lot longer because we're already after 8, unless you guys have other questions. But there's one, the first 4 verses in this chapter are specifically potent, right? So the first verse of the 9th chapter says that unless one is influenced by the energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there's no meaning to the relationship of the pure soul and pure consciousness with the material body. The relationship is just like a dreamer seeing his own body working in a dream. So at night, we all see ourselves doing different things. We've forgotten our family. We've forgotten our treasury. We've forgotten our bodies. We've forgotten our health. We've forgotten all of these things, our family tree. We don't remember our history. We don't remember any of these things, but we're seeing some illusion. And we feel the emotions attached to that in many cases. It's very real to us on a subtle body. One of the questions that Maharaj had was how do great sages give up their attachment to their astral or their subtle body. He just said that just a few moments ago. So it says in text 2, the illusion living entity appears in so many forms offered by the external energy of the Lord. And while enjoying the modes of nature, the encaged living entity misconceives, thinking of in terms of I and mine. There you have the problem. There's the whole problem in a nutshell, guys. The whole problem is you're thinking in terms of I and mine. And when you think in terms of I and mine, you are automatically in Maya immediately. So what does surrender mean? When Krishna says, surrender to me, I will protect you, do not fear. What does that mean? It means I no longer see things as mine. I realized this was here before I got here. It's going to be here after I'm gone. I'm trying to take care of it on behalf of my Father, Krishna, my spiritual master. I'm trying to take care according to their instructions, right? But it's not mine. It's not mine. When you're a brahmachari in the temple, you go out and you beg money. You distribute books. You preach to people. They give you money. Do you keep it? No. You take it back as dakshin to the spiritual master. You give it to the spiritual master. What does he do with it? He engages it immediately in distributing prasadam, printing books about Krishna, expanding this information more and more, like Brahma told Narada to do, right? And Narada told Vyasa to do, right? And he uses it to build beautiful temples and install deities so that people can become Krishna conscious like Maharaja Pariksit wanted to be. So as soon as the living entity becomes situated in his own constitutional glory, then he actually begins to enjoy on a different level completely, doesn't he? He enjoys transcendence beyond time and beyond space and the material energy. And he at once gives up those misconceptions of I and mind. And he becomes fully satisfied and manifest in his own pure self. Now, guys, that's strong. That is some strong information that we have to imbibe from the spiritual master and from this beautiful Srimad Bhagavatam. So because, Brahma, I want to cover just a couple of more little things with you. One of the things that the verses 10 to 18, they're a description of the kingdom of God as seen by Lord Brahma. If I were you, I'd read those verses 10 to 18 as many times as you can. And just let that just emblazon on your mind as a memory to see those beautiful lightning and coralled, skinned, four-armed Vishnu Dudas in Vaikuntha, wearing yellow garments, beautifully decorated with earrings, like our dear friend Jai Krishna. See what I mean? So try to put that in your mind. Let's read those just 4 verses really quickly, because they're just so beautiful. So Brahma, because Krishna was very pleased with his austerities. He said, the personality of Godhead, being very much satisfied with the penance of Lord Brahma, was pleased to manifest his personal abode, Vaikuntha, the supreme planet above all others. This transcendental abode of the Lord is adored by self-realized persons, free from all kind of miseries and fear of illusion or illusory existence. That's text 9. So then Brahma describes what that is. In text 10, he says, in the personal abode of the Lord, the material modes of ignorance, passion do not prevail, nor is there any influence of even goodness. There is no predominance of the influence of time. So what to speak of illusory external energy? It cannot enter that region. The inhabitants of the Vaikuntha planets are described as having a glowing sky blue complexion. Their eyes resemble lotus flowers. Their dress is yellowish in color, and their bodily features are very attractive. They're just the age of growing or blooming youths. They all have 4 hands, and they are nicely decorated with pearl necklaces and ornaments, medallions, and they all appear to be glowing or effulgent. Some of them are effulgent like coral and diamonds in complexion, and have garlands on their heads blooming like lotus flowers, and some are wearing earrings. The Vaikuntha planets are surrounded by various airplanes, all glowing and brilliantly situated. These airplanes belong to the Mahatmas. They're flying around serving Krishna up there, having a blast. Oh, by the way, somebody asked AI the other day, because you can go to Chat GP or whatever that is. You can go and ask them questions. And they said, please describe a UFO, or something along those lines. And it came back as a Vimana. It was like a temple in a city built on this round landscape, gigantic. In some cases, the size of, who knows, planets flying all around. So it says here that in the spiritual sky, we love to fly. We just started doing it about 100 years ago here. That's how backward we are. But in the Vaikuntha planets, or even the demigods, they're flying back and forth to the earth all the time, creating catalytic situations or appearing when the Lord appears to engage in his pastimes. Like we see with Lord Krishna, he told all the demigods, go ahead and manifest, get ready, I'm coming. Don't worry anymore, I'll take care of all the demons, don't worry about it. So they were feeling pretty good about that. All the demigods took birth, everybody came here. Arjuna, of course, he's here, everybody's here. So, but they're flying around with their celestial companions. So all these things together appear just like the sky decorated with both clouds and lightning. Now, we read in the last chapter that this is only 1/4 of the spiritual sky or the total creation. This is for our benefit. It's unlimited. But we can't understand with these minds eternality and unlimited space and things like that because we're so finite. We have a difficult time understanding. But it says that 1/4 of the spiritual sky is like a cloudy space. That's where all the material world exists. 3/4 is Nitya Siddha. They've never come here. And they're eternally liberated. So in that environment, the goddess of fortune is engaged in loving service to the lotus feet of the Lord. And being moved by the black bees, followers of spring, she is not only engaged in variegated pleasure or service to the Lord along with her constant companions, but is also engaged in singing all the glories of the Lord's activities. So what we're doing now and what we're doing in the spiritual world are going to be very, very similar, guys. We're going to be singing. We're going to be a part of the eternal festival. There's going to be chanting. There's going to be dancing. And what does it say? Lord Brahma saw in Vaikuntha that the Lord was leaning toward all of his devotees. So it says, Lord Brahma saw in the Vaikuntha planets, the personality of Godhead, who is the Lord of the entire devotee community, the Lord of the goddess of fortune, the Lord of all sacrifices, and the Lord of the universe, who is served by the foremost servitors like Nanda, Sunanda, Prabhala, and Arhana, and the personality of Godhead was seen leaning favorably towards his loving servitors. Try to envision this in your mind. That scene of ecstasy Brahma saw, the Lord revealed that to Brahma because he was pleased with his penance. So what needs to happen? We need to please Prabhupada and Prabhupada's penance then, and we're introduced to Krishna in that way through the spiritual master, the transparent via medium, so that we can see God also. So his very sight is intoxicating and attractive. He appeared to be very much satisfied. He had a smiling face decorated with an enchanting reddish hue. And he was dressed in yellow robes and wore earrings and a helmet on his head. He had 4 hands and his chest was marked with the lines of the goddess of fortune. He was seated on his throne. Brahma saw Krishna, God, Narayan, Vishnu, seated on his throne, leaning favorably towards his servitors in this beautiful arrangement. So he saw the Lord in his factual position, enjoying his own abode. Lord Brahma, thus seeing the personality of Godhead in his fullness, was overwhelmed with joy in his heart, and in thus full transcendental love and ecstasy, his eyes filled with tears of love, he bowed down before the Lord. That is the way of the highest perfection of the Paramahansa. And what is Lord Chaitanya's prayer in that regard? He only left us a few verses. Nayanam galadashru daryaya, badanam gadgadarudayagira, pulikar nichitam babukada, tavanama grahane bhavishati. Oh, my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up? And when will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your name? This is our aspiration. And Lord Brahma achieved it. His eyes were filled with tears of love. His heart was filled with transcendental ecstasy. And tears of love flowed down his face. In that condition, he bowed down before the Lord. This is our situation. Yugaitam nimeshena chakshusha pravrisayatam sunyayatam jagat sarvam govinda virahena me. We should be feeling all absent in the world in separation. Every moment should seem like 12 years or more, and tears will become flowing from our eyes like torrents of rain if we are feeling all vacant in the world in the Lord's absence. So this mood of separation is clearly described. Guys, I've got another hour that I could do for you here. I'm not even halfway through my notes, guys. I'm sorry. It's so sweet. I mean, what can you do, you know? All right, so from 19 to 24, the Lord explains penance and explains that's the potency, right? And even in the Gita, the Lord says that if I didn't engage in these acts, regulatory acts, then the whole world would fall into ruination. Everyone would follow his path in all respects. So he says that. So those are nice verses, 19 to 24. You should definitely read those. And then, of course, Lord Brahma's prayer and his acknowledgement and realization from text 25 to text 30. He asked the Lord that even though you're giving me the power to do this stuff, please don't let me become contaminated by it. Please don't let me fall down into Maya. Please, Lord. And he petitions the Lord about that. And what does the Lord do? In text 37, he grants his request. Right? So he bestows upon him all power, all realization, all knowledge that he needs to recreate the universe just as it was before the last partial annihilation. And then in text 44 and text 45, we're reminded of the Sampradaya, because Krishna to Brahma and Brahma to Narada, Narada to Vyas, and then down to Srila Prabhupada. So if we read Srimad Bhagavatam, we're going to get a picture of where we are, who we are, how did we get here, where can we go when we leave, what are our options, what's the best option, and we can learn what to do with our lives while we're existing in this world so that we don't become bound up and fall down into lower species by unintelligent, uninformed behavior that provides karmic retribution. If you want to know what that looks like, just pick up a 5th canto and it'll straighten you right out. Okay? So we've got our marching orders. Guys, I mean, we're already at 8:20. I want to talk a lot more, but I better not. Okay, we better end this thing. We are going to do a little pamphlet or booklets out of this. Rangavati is helping me with, and her illustrious husband, Bhavananda, who we can only see his hand. We can't attain Bhavananda, right? Sometimes we see his hand, but we don't actually see the actual Bhavananda, right? So you're going to have to get more purified if you want to see him, right? So, but just to leave you with this thought, right? Because if you go all the way through this chapter to the very end, you'll find out that the purpose of the whole existence, everything that we're doing here, let's just click on down towards the end here, is to meditate on the Lord, his pastimes, his holy names, and his activities. So what does Krishna say in 9:34 in the Bhagavad Gita? Manmana bhava madbhakto madhyajinam namaskaru. Mami vaisheshi yuktvaevam atmanam matprayanam. Engage your mind always in thinking of me. Offer your obeisances and worship me. Being completely absorbed in me, surely you will come to me. So, guys, I'm going to leave it there unless there's some other comment or question that you have. We are going to invite you back to the next installment next Monday night, which is Srimad Bhagavatam, the answer to all questions. Questions have been posed very, very nicely by Narada Muni and Brahma to Krishna. We've seen all that here. So these are questions that are worthy because they pertain to the absolute truth, to the ultimate destination. So, guys, I appreciate you being here. Is there any other comment or question before we end the meeting? You guys are amazing. Listen, I'm very grateful for you. Thank you for coming to the classes each night, each Monday night, and we'll promise to keep this going as long as we are physically capable. Okay, with the help of Rangavati and her team of experts. Okay. All right. Thank you so much again for being here, and I'll see you next Monday night. Okay. Hare Krishna. Haribol.
Haribol.
Haribol.